Yes, the video says Star Trek Picard, a review, but you see me in Minecraft. Why? Because I think it'd be a lot easier to do it this way than using my phone to videotape my face and then going back and downloading it and all that jazz. This to me seems a little bit easier. One more. So, what exactly are my thoughts on Star Trek Picard? Well, this is going to be very controversial because last time I done a review on Star Trek, I got a lot of hate for it. But, dang it, I keep doing that. Sorry, it's been so long since I played Minecraft to keep hitting the wrong button to jump. But anyway. My thoughts are going to be a bit controversial because, like I said, last time I did a review, it was on Star Trek Discovery, and I just done the review of what I saw on the trailer, and one guy commented, and he didn't like what I said. But from what I heard, it has gotten better in the later seasons. I'm just not interested in Star Trek Discovery. But enough about that. Let's talk about Star Trek Picard. So I was very excited to see that Star Trek was getting the comeback, if that's what you would really want to call it. It is. Oh, it's just a little thing. But so I bought the CBS All Access stuff. Well, not bought. Streamed CBS All Access, and I got ready, and I even let my stepmom know because it was thanks to her that I actually got into Star Trek. I remember as a kid she actually had a full-on high-dollar model of the Enterprise, the NCC 1701D, and she even had a couple of the figures that they had back in the day. But she got me hooked on it. So hold on, sorry, I forgot to turn my alarm clock off. So she got me into it. I started watching the first episode. I sat back, I watched it, and I'm like, okay, this is weird. What's going on? What's going to happen? So I'm sitting there and watching the first episode. Got to the second episode, got to the third episode, got to the fourth episode, and then got to the last episode. And I'm still trying to process everything I saw. And I don't know why the people who made this show decided to go with what they went with. So, spoiler warning from here on out. So what's the show about? Well, the show's about an older Picard, Admiral retired Picard, it starts out with him having a dream of being back on Enterprise D playing poker, which, if you remember, he only ever done once in the show with Data, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was like one of the last episodes he actually joined the poker game. But they're sitting there playing, and of course it's a dream sequence. And he's like, I don't want the game to end. Mars explodes, and then we get the premise of the show. So apparently, the creators of this show decided to go with the Romulan supernova that the J.J. Abrams track decided to pull off, destroy Romulus, and create a whole bunch of people that was mad at the Federation and everybody else because they didn't help them when they needed it the most. So that's the premise of the show from Picard's aspect from the first bit of the first episode. So then we get this other character called Soji. I mean, not Soji, bugger. We get this other character, and she's sitting there with her boyfriend. It doesn't say what her boyfriend is, what kind of alien he is. You can tell it's some sort of Star Trek alien. It just doesn't say who or what he is. And the J.J. Abrams Star Trek done that a lot. I mean, there's a couple that you can recognize, like the orange chick, the somewhat Vulcan-esque doctor that delivered Kirk. But yeah, you don't know who he is or what he is. You just know that he is an alien because of his eyes. So they're sitting there enjoying themselves, when having a little sip, because they're kind of enjoying the fact that this character is going to be part of the Delstrom Institute, which is an institute that was built on the foundation of trying to figure out what Dr. Soong done to create data, i.e. artificial android intelligence. However, things have not been so pretty for the Federation. It seems like the people that blew up Mars were the synthetics. And nobody knows why. Nobody knows how they done it. Even after all the episodes I saw, nobody knows what really truly happened. So they're drinking away their fancy champagne, and all of a sudden these masked men come in, break in the room, and kill the boyfriend. Then they try to capture the girl, and they're speaking some foreign language, and one of them says, "Speak English." Really? But they break in, and you don't know who these people are. They just got fancy looking weapons, fancy looking armor, and they're trying to capture this person. Well, turns out she is an android, but not just any android. She is based off of Data. But wait, you ask, how's that possible? How can someone be based off of Data when Data is, well, according to the Insurrection, is dead? He got blew up. Well, they do pull some from that movie and say that he is able to switch his data, what is data, to the android they found on that planet, and download his consciousness into that android. And a new character called Bruce Maddox was able to take the data that the data stored and use that data to create more androids, or synths as they called it on that show. I'm like, really? We're pulling from Fallout? Well, that's not the biggest sin in my book of what they pulled off. The biggest sin in my books, what they pulled off, is what happens in the later episodes, but we'll get there eventually. So we find out that that girl is a synth, and she is programmed to go find Jean-Luc Picard when she gets in trouble. Don't know why. Well, it's kind of hinted that the guy that created her, Bruce Maddox, put the program into her, hoping that Picard will be able to help her. Well, Picard tries to help her, but he don't really understand what's going on. In fact, nobody understands what's going on for the first couple episodes. So she dies. Spoiler again. So she dies, and it turns out that the people that was after her were none other than the Romulans. Oh no, they're pulling the Romulans back in as the bad guys. I was hoping eventually the Romulans would get kind of a fair square deal, because I kind of like the Romulans being, I don't know, I would like to see them as the good guys once, eventually, one of these days in Star Trek. But no, we don't get to see that. Well, they're back to being the bad guys. Well, there are other Romulans inside Picard's house that don't really explain why they're his, like, servants. I guess because he helped them out of a bind during the Romulan supernova, but again, it doesn't say anything. And that is another big sin of this show, is nobody says anything about the lore, or whoever everybody is, what's going on in the Federation. And in fact, there is a book out now, and it's quite a thick chapter book, detailing exactly what happened between Insurrection and the show, or at least it tells everybody what's going on, where everybody is, blah blah blah. Well, Picard and his cohorts find out that they're, through this other doctor at the Dacium Institute, a lady, that Bruce Maddox may have indeed made an android, but he just did not make one, he made two. That was kind of neat. I had enough for two pickaxes. But he made two. He made them in a pair, because apparently that's how you do it. You make them in a pair. So Jean-Luc Picard is bent on finding this other synth and helping her out of a bind. So he's like, I need a ship and I need a crew. And I'm like, okay, are we going to pull in some older characters? Like, I don't know, Worf, O'Brien, anybody still living from Star Trek The Next New Generation? I'm not sure exactly how many is left from the Next New Generation. That is technically still with us. I need to look that up, really. But, so he's like, I need a ship and I need a crew to go find this other synth and help her out. Since I failed to protect this one, I need to go and find this other one and see if I can help protect her. So Picard gets his ragtag ship and crew, and everybody rejoice. We finally get a Spanish character on Star Trek, or at least I think he's Spanish. I'm not for sure. Again, it doesn't say, and I'm going to probably be saying that a lot because because it's one of the show's follies. It doesn't say who everything is, what they are, and all that good stuff. And then we're introduced to this crazy character called Raffi. Now, Raffi used to work with Jean-Luc Picard when he was an admiral in Starfleet, and they was trying to figure out why the synths went crazy and blew up Mars. And everybody in the Federation was like, you know what, synths are a bad idea, let's ban them and outlaw them. And Jean-Luc Picard was wholly against that. Well, it's a long show, and just trying to do a quick preference of everything that happens is going to be a nightmare if you really think about it, because to me the plot, it was okay. You know, there's a super secret Romulan sect who are really opposed to synthetic life in any form of fashion, and it doesn't say until later why they are. They found this planet that was being rotated around by 8 suns, and on this planet there's this artifact, and if you were to touch it as a non-synthetic, it gives you a brief glimpse of what the Romulans thought of as what could happen if synthetic life was to continue. And here's the big kicker, folks. Does anybody remember the first 2 Mass Effects? Because that is what they're ripping, well, any of the Mass Effects really, that is what they're ripping off. Star Trek Picard, I know it's taken me 18.5 minutes to come to this conclusion for you, but I thought I would try to set up some of the premise for you, just in case you haven't seen the episodes. But if you have, and like, well, that was left field. No, it's not left field. That is straight from the older Xbox 360 days, from a game called Mass Effect. And for you not in the know, the premise of the Mass Effect series is that there's these ancient aliens that created synthetic life. Well, they abused and pretty much was very bad to the synthetic life, and the synthetic life rebelled. They overthrew their creators, so sort of like a Frankenstein's monster deal, I guess is what somebody more in the know would say, but I'm not sure. I never actually read the book. I've seen the horrible movies that has come out about Frankenstein, but I have yet to read the book. But anyway, so the Romulans think the synthetic life is out to destroy all non-synthetic life, and so they fear it. They create this branch of the Tal Shiar called the Jean Vache in hopes of protecting their butts from synthetic life. And according to Star Trek Picard, this is why you don't see when they go into the Romulan ships and TNG, and then later DS9, why you don't see artificial intelligence is because the Jean Vache's main goal is to destroy it. So the Jean Vache are trying to hunt down the synthetics and Star Trek Picard, and we get a couple of characters who are brother and sister, who are Romulan, who are part of the Jean Vache. And it's very... When I was watching this, I'm like, okay, I'm getting Game of Thrones vibes from these two. And primarily from Cersei and Jaime Lannister. So they're out hunting the synthetics, and Picard has a crew, and they find the synthetic homeworld, and they find, well, they find a whole planet, well, a whole community of synthetic life. And this is where it all comes down to. They're trying to protect the synthetic life. So what are my thoughts about Star Trek Picard? Why rip off Mass Effect? I mean, you got talented writers. You got really talented actors. And you rip off Mass Effect? A game? Are you that stressed for writers and story ideas for Star Trek? If so, I mean, give me a call, people. I mean, I'm not meant to be a great writer, but at least I can come up with a better storyline and maybe even a redemption arc for the Romulan people than what you've done. But that's my thoughts. I mean, it was a decent episode. It was a decent look into Star Trek. You get to see more stuff. You get to see some old characters return. You get to see Deanna Troi. You get to see Commander Riker. And it was a nice kind of heartstring tugging thing when you see Deanna Troi and Commander Riker. But at least in this one they do give Commander Riker and Deanna Troi a son and daughter. And the son has this ailment that could have been cured or prevented if a neural net was still around. But according to the Accords, even that is outlawed. Any medical treatment dealing with the making and procuring of synthetic life is outlawed. And I thought that was dumb. I mean, you would think the Federation would be like, you know what, this doesn't really create synthetic life. If we could control it, it does help this condition. But nope. They destroy it. And I'm like, wait, what? Why? You even get this weirdly... I don't know how I'll phrase this. But you get this redemption arc for one of the characters and it comes out of nowhere. So remember the lady from the Daystrom Institute that Picard meets? Yeah, she kills Bruce Maddox, and Bruce Maddox dies at her hands. And they give her a redemption moment by letting her, you know what, I'm gonna help Picard. And she does help him. But the biggest low blow of the whole series for me is they set off Chekhov's gun. No, I'm not talking about the character from the original series. I'm talking about the phrase that's used in Hollywood, Chekhov's gun. So they set up this golem that Dr. Soon, partner of Bruce Maddox, is making for himself so he can become immortal. Yeah, on that moral. So he's setting up this android that he can transfer his consciousness into so that he can be like Data and live forever. Well, turns out poor John Luke has a condition in his brain, and it's slowly killing him. Well, he finally gets the Federation on his side to help him in his quest to protect the synthetic life. And then he's like, oh, well, I'm done. And he dies. So instead of like being, you know, oh, he's dead, well, someone's going to have to carry the torch now. No, they transfer his consciousness into this thing called a golem. That's right, people. They won't even let poor Jean-Luc Picard die a noble death. And in fact, really? Die already. In fact, you... I hate creepers. Anyway, they will give him an honorable death. You don't even know where the Klingons are in all this. You'd think they would be helping the Federation. Or, you know, that'd be one people that Picard could be like, you know what, I could probably trust the Klingons to help me. Nope. I need this random person that may or may not help me. To fly me around, to take me to the places I need to go. No, you don't get any of the older characters, but Commander Riker and Deanna Troi, and they don't even join his group until the last episode, and it's just Riker on board a ship telling the Romulans to bugger off or he will open fire. But he does get a nice line. There is a lot of wrong with Star Trek Picard. there's a lot that needs fixing. But seems like now that there's going to be a season 2. If anybody in the know can tell the writers of Star Trek Picard not to rip off a video game for their source material, I'd be very much grateful. Because this isn't Star Trek to me. Star Trek has its own story, has its own lore, and really, I want to look at the people that are die-hard, and I do mean die-hard Star Wars fans. I'm like, can we join your club? The what's going on? This isn't what we thought it was going to be club. Because I think we both got ripped off here. Because from what I've heard about the newest Star Wars, a lot of people didn't like it. It sold a lot, but no one liked it. I haven't seen it for myself, and I'm not a die-hard Star Wars fan. I mean, I'll look at it and watch it if it's on the older stuff. I'll even watch the Clone Wars cartoons. But yeah, I really want to say to the folks that love Star Wars, can we please join your group as Star Trek fans? Because this isn't what we expected to see. We expected to see Jean-Luc Picard as Jean-Luc Picard on the Enterprise, or some version of the Enterprise, going around doing, you know, his own thing. But nope, all we got was what we got. A rip-off of a video game. What are some of your thoughts? I mean, I didn't go all through the plot synopsis of the show because it gets weird. You do get to see 7 of 9. She does make a comeback. Jerry Ryan does reportray her role as 7 of 9, and she's like this avenging angel of justice for the once upon a time Romulan neutral zone, because according to the show, since the Romulan home world went kablooey thanks to the supernova, the Romulans lost grip of their territories. And I'm like, wait, the Romulans who have the Tal Shiar have a reputation of, yeah, you may think you got us beat, but nope, we just went to the shadows, lost their hold on their territories at the Romulan super. I have issues with that. I really do. Why would the Romulans lose control, full control over their territories? It makes no sense to me, and you will say that a lot in this show. That don't make sense. Wait, what? I mean, the ship that Jean-Luc Picard picks up with the one and only, as far as I know, Spanish-speaking or Spanish descent character is run by holograms, and according to the show, holograms is okay. You trust holograms to run your stuff, but you don't trust people like Data? It makes no sense. You would think holograms would fall squarely in the no synthetic life rule, but nope. Holograms run the museum, holograms run the ship, even though it's technically a ship that doesn't have a registration or anything like that, isn't documented, and I'm like, yeah, that wouldn't fly. As soon as your ship is built, it is tagged, it is all this other stuff, and I'm like, the show is good, but in a lot of areas it needs help, and I do mean help. But I've been blabbing for almost 40 minutes about Star Trek Picard, and I've reached the level that I need to reach to hunt for diamonds. Yay. So, with that being all said and done, what are some of your thoughts about Star Trek Picard? To me, it's a decent show. It just ripped off the plotline of a Xbox game. I think it was originally on PlayStation 2, but it ripped off... Oh, I'm hungry. It ripped off... It ripped off a game. And I'm still trying to process that. It ripped off a game for its main plot. Sorry, indigestion. But this has been Old Fox, and like I said, it's a decent show. It just rips off Mass Effect. It has some problems with the lore, and again, those who love Star Wars to the extent that you've read everything, you know all the lore, but thanks to Disney, that lore is no more. Can we join your club, us folks at Star Trek? Because we're trying to scratch our heads and try to figure out what happened. I mean, to me, I've been trying to figure out what happened since I saw the J.J. Abrams Star Trek. The Romulan supernova sending Mr. Spock back in time, the Romulan mining drill back in time, the destruction of the Kelvin. Oh, that's the name of that dang timeline. The Kelvin timeline. I mean, I'd just really like to know what their thoughts were and why they did what they done. But as you look on my weird map here and my no house bed. Oh, you can actually jump off the beds now. Nice. This is my last word about Star Trek Picard. If you're not a fan of Star Trek, you might enjoy it. If you're a fan of Star Trek, you'll find a lot of flaws. And if you know any of the lore of Star Trek, you're going to be furiously mad. Because they pull out so many... What's the word I'm looking for? They pull out so many MacGuffins. It's ridiculous. You would think Q is just around the corner, just snapping his fingers every 5 seconds of the MacGuffins that come on. But all in all, if you're a fan, watch it. judge it with a grain of salt. And if you're not a fan, give it a watch. Let me know what you think. But this has been Old Fox, and thanks for letting me blab for 40 minutes and 41 minutes by the time I get done with the outro. And this is going to be my new way of doing reviews via me playing around in Minecraft and talking about the review I want to talk about. Now, I call them reviews, but I don't know. I think more I see. But this is going to be my new format. You don't get to see my ugly mug anymore, at least. So, give the video a watch. Let me know your ideas of what you thought Star Trek was going to be. Heck, those of you who love Star Wars, join us. I mean, I like both. I like the lore of both. I like the culture of the Twi'leks. I like the Twi'leks anyway. But, I mean, join us with the discussion. We all need to come together and discuss what happened to our respective franchises and what we think could be fixed about our respective franchises to make them the way we want them to look, sound like, and act like. But again, this has been Old Fox. What are your thoughts? Old Fox out.